Today we have a 1989 Ford Mustang 5.0 liter. We're going to go ahead and give it a good tune-up. We got a bunch of parts from AutoPartsDirectToYou.com. We're going to put all motorcraft parts, the spark plugs, the plug wires, the distributor cap, and the rotor in there. So we'll go ahead and get started. First step, we're going to go ahead and change out the spark plugs. I'm going to do the tougher side first, which is the passenger side. To start out, I'm just going to disconnect this throttle body hose. It's got two hose clamps. Just loosen them up. And then it just pulls right off there. Okay, now you can see down in here, we got the 4 spark plugs on this side. I'm going to start out by just taking off one spark plug wire at a time. And there's our spark plug. Now using a spark plug socket, so I'm going to put an extension on there too. Go ahead and break it loose and pull it out, or unthread it all the way and then pull it out. You see, looking at that spark plug, there's a lot of corrosion buildup. That's actually a good sign that there's probably oil leaking into the motor. So it's a good sign this motor itself is probably getting tired, but we'll go ahead and give it a tune-up now. That'll make it run better for the time being at least. So I'll show you the comparison between this old spark plug and a new one. You can see here the difference. You got that brand new spark plug. This is a Motorcraft plug that we got from AutoPartsDirectToYou.com versus the old one here. Just drastic difference. So yeah, this car should run a lot better once we get these new plugs in. So we're gonna go ahead and just put this one back in. Put it in our spark plug socket first. And you always want to get it started by hand. So the last thing you want to do is cross thread a spark plug into the cylinder head. Once you get it tightened down by hand, go ahead and get your ratchet back on there and snug it up. It doesn't have to be super tight. Just tight enough where it's not going to back itself out again. Right now I'm going to go ahead and temporarily put the plug wire back on. Not all the way, I'm not going to snap it on, just enough so we don't lose track of which one it was. And I'm going to go on to the next spark plug. And I'm just going to work my way down and do all 4 on this side, just like this. Alright, we've got all 4 of the spark plugs changed on the passenger side. Next thing I'm going to do is do the cap and rotor and change the wires out on this side, and then we'll move over to the driver's side. Now the distributor cap on these Mustangs is actually really simple. You've got little clips, one here and one here. They just snap off. And once you get those off, that's it. Once you have the distributor cap up, just gotta get this rotor off of here, which you just pull off. You'll see that this rotor, the new one, will only go back in one way. It's got this little hole in here inside the distributor, which lines up with this pin here. So we'll go ahead and get our new Motorcraft rotor that we bought from AutoPartsDirectToYou.com. And slide that over, line it up with its hole. That goes on. Now our new Motorcraft distributor cap, I want to show you the difference too. You can see on the old one, right in here on all the contacts, there's a lot of corrosion buildup in there. If you look at that versus the new one, you'll see the new one's nice and clean. That can make you lose spark, which can make you have a misfire or lose power. So we'll go ahead and get our new cap on here. This also will only go on one way. Once you get that on, just snap the little snaps back on. That's all you have to do to replace the cap and rotor. Now at this point, we're going to be putting the new plug wires on. So I'm not going to transfer these. I'm just going to keep it right here for reference so that we can follow the spark plug wires, you'll see this one goes down to the number 2 plug. This one goes to the number 1. So when we swap the wires, I'm going to do them one at a time so we can know exactly which one goes where. Alright, we're going to go ahead and change the spark plug wires now. I'm going to start with the number 1 cylinder. On the cap, it also has a little tiny number 1 in there, which shows, you know, where you start. So you'll see, you look at the cap on the new one and the cap on the old one, they both have the number 1. If you were to follow that wire, you see it goes right down to the number 1 cylinder. So just get it on here and snap it on. And I'll go ahead and pull it off the number 1 cylinder. And I'll route it down. And you want to make sure you snap it all the way on. You'll feel it and you'll hear it snap. And once it's on, it won't pull off easy. So at that point, you're good. Now, one thing I did, I went ahead and pre-sorted all the spark plug wires from shortest to longest. Just saves a little bit of time. Okay, next we're going to do the number 2, which goes up to right here. If you compare that with the new cap, you'll see here's number 1. It says 1, 2, and then the number 2. So if we look at our new one, 1, 2, number 2. Alright, we got our number 2 going on. Now all you want to do is work your way down. Do the same with all of the spark plugs until we get them in. Then we'll get them all looking nice with the wire looms. Alright, so we got our spark plug wires on for the passenger side. We got the wire looms on, and I got the air intake hose back on. So now I'm going to move to the driver's side, and we're just going to repeat the same exact thing. I'm going to start out by popping off one wire here and breaking the plug loose. I'll go ahead and spin this out. So we got the spark plug out. They've all looked pretty good except for that number 8 cylinder. I'm sorry, number 4 cylinder on the back of the other side. So the motor's probably got something wrong on that cylinder, either a valve seal or a cylinder ring problem or a piston ring problem. But we're going to go ahead and continue changing all these plugs. One thing I did not mention was that before I started, I went ahead and pre-gapped all the spark plugs. You want to look in your owner's manual or your repair manual and find out what the exact gap is of your spark plugs. So I'll go ahead and get this one put in, and then I'll do the same with the other 3 back here. Alright, we got our 4 spark plugs changed on the driver's side now. Last thing we got to do is put the spark plug wires on this side. So I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to do it the same way I did the other. I'm going to do them one at a time. Pop it off on this side and follow up where it goes. And we'll match that up with the old distributor cap. I'm sorry, new distributor cap. Alright, now I want to clean these up. I'm going to reroute them a little bit differently. I'm going to reroute them underneath these AC lines. But again, do them one at a time so you don't mix them up. Okay, now we'll install our loom things to hold them. You want to avoid letting the plugs or plug wires touch. You can get a little bit of voltage arcing through them, even though it's not going to be a full arc, you know, in the traditional sense. You will actually get voltage leak, and if your plug wires are getting old, one old trick to tell is looking under the engine bay at nighttime when it's completely dark, and you can actually see arcing from anywhere that is touching ground to the plug wire. Even though it's still running fine, you will still get a little arcing. So you want to try to keep them from touching each other best you can. All right. Oh, one last step is to put your coil wire on. All right, now we are complete. I'm gonna do a little cleaning up on these wires still, make them look a little bit better. But other than that, we are done. And that is how you replace the plugs, wires, cap, and rotor on a 1989 Ford Mustang. This will apply to actually very many vehicles. It will, pretty much any Ford with a 5.0 or 5.8 liter is the exact same method as this. So just keep autopartsdirecttoyou.com in mind next time you need some parts. And other than that, we're all set. Thank you.